So I would say the fun to effort ratio is incredibly biased towards the fun. Hey guys, Lewis from Recycle Bicycle Sales here. Today I wanted to talk about e-bikes. Should you buy an e-bike in 2024? The answer is yes, but let me tell you why. So, what is an electric bike? Electric bicycles are a pedal assist. So it's not that they use a throttle to sort of speed up, it's as you're pedaling, there's a motor and a battery in here that will give you a little bit of an extra boost to just make it a little bit easier. So really, all that they're doing is they're adding a bit of power to each pedal stroke, but that's gonna make the whole ride so much easier. The other cool thing with electric bikes as well is that if you want to feel like you're sort of cheating, you can turn it up to a really high turbo power mode, or you can bring it down to different modes. Most e-bikes will have between 3 and 5 different power modes. The cool thing about electric bikes as well is they can come in all different genres of bicycle, all different categories of bicycle. This particular example here is an e-gravel bike. It's got the sort of off-road tires, but it's still got the drop-down racing handlebars. You could perhaps look at a flat handlebar mountain bike or even a dual suspension mountain bike if you wanted to go do your jumps and skids and that sort of thing. You could even go an e-road bike. It can just take that load off so that you can get up the hill and still keep up with your buddies. E-bikes are awesome because they actually let you ride. If you're perhaps recovering from an injury, maybe you've hurt your knee, or maybe you're not quite as strong as you used to be, you might have issues like that that might prevent you from riding a normal analog bike. So that's kind of exactly where these e-bikes come in. They sort of take that load off. Another one could be that perhaps you just can't be bothered riding. Plain and simple, you just can't find the motivation. That's exactly where these e-bikes come into it. They just make the whole thing more enjoyable. It's less of a drag and I have to ride my bike. It's a, hell yeah, I get to ride my bike. Another awesome thing about these e-bikes is that you can just go so much further. If you're struggling for time, you might only have maybe an hour free on a Sunday, you're able to just go for that big bike ride when usually you might have to cut it short on your normal analog bike. I say this is especially true for mountain bikes, because on a mountain bike, getting up the hill is often a very slow task, and then coming down is really quick. So you might be able to get a few runs going up and down the hill. So I would say the fun to effort ratio is incredibly biased towards the fun. I suppose one of the potential downsides when we're talking about electric bikes is the cost. Unfortunately, yes, they are still quite expensive. I think we're probably a few years off of them slowly becoming back down to sort of normal bike pricing. But to be fair, you're getting a way more advanced bike. Now we've got a big battery, usually in the down tube. We've got a big motor here, which is putting out all this extra power. The componentry is more or less the same. You know, we've still got this more or less the same chain, the same gears, the same handlebar, wheels, that kind of thing. But we've got the added technology of the battery and the motor. So I suppose you do have to weigh up a little bit whether the benefits are worth the cost. When I say that e-bikes are a little bit expensive, to put it into perspective, this bike brand new was about $14,000. I suppose the normal sort of equivalent of non-electric bike, as in if we had the same componentry, same brand and that kind of thing, we'd be paying probably closer to about $8,000. But I'm going to plug Recycle Bicycle Sales here, our beautiful bike shop here. This is a pre-owned bike, and we actually have it listed at $5,500. So it might even be worth looking at a pre-owned electric bike. You can get it for cheaper than the analog brand new bike. Why wouldn't you do that? We can also talk about maintenance costs. I suppose when we look at the electric bike as a whole, it really has mostly the same components as a normal push bike. So servicing isn't necessarily much, if really any, more expensive than just a standard push bike, because the gears still work the same way, the brakes still work the same way, it all works more or less the same way. I suppose when we're talking about the motor and the battery, if you ever needed to have any work done on that, that might be different, I suppose. I would be calling that a repair rather than maintenance, because you're fixing something that broke down. I would also quickly say, while I'm talking about the battery, if you did need to buy a new battery is usually somewhere between $800 and $1,000 Australian, give or take. To sum up everything that I just said there, maintenance costs are pretty well about the same as a normal analog push bike. Repairs might be an added bill down the track. So I can hear you asking through the screen, how long does the battery last? Well, depending on what mode you're in, it could be sort of anywhere between maybe 40 and 80 kilometers as a rough guide. If you're in turbo mode, you might only get maybe 40 kilometers out of it, but you're really relying on the battery. Whereas if you're in eco mode, it might last a whole lot longer. So unless you're doing long adventure days, really, the e-bike should last all day for you. With that being said, you can always buy a second battery and you could have that in your backpack if you're planning on going for a really long bike ride. A trade-off when moving across to an electric bike is they are quite a bit heavier. Now that we obviously have the big battery in the down tube and we have the big motor down at the bottom here, there's a lot of added weight. So yes, they are a little bit heavier. However, as soon as you turn on even just the eco mode, the lower power mode, it just adds that little bit of power to make the whole bike pedal along and feel like a normal analog push bike. So the weight is sort of offset by the extra power that you get given. If you're worried about trying to lift the bike onto the bike rack on the back of the car, a lot of bike racks out there will even have a ramp set up now. So you could purchase that as an aftermarket thing and you can literally roll the bike up onto the bike rack on the back of the car rather than having to lift it all the way up, because they are honestly quite a bit heavier. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you've learned something about electric bikes here in 2024. Again, I'll ask the question, should you buy an e-bike in 2024? Absolutely yes. Okay, admittedly, maybe I'm a little bit biased because I have an electric bike. I have a Specialized mountain bike. I think they're the absolute coolest thing. Whenever my friends are out doing runs, I'm able to do 4 runs in the time that they do 2. So if you're interested in buying an e-bike, all you have to do is sign here and this one could be yours. What am I kidding? Otherwise, if you think you've learned something in this video or you reckon that we've missed anything, let us know in the comments below. I'm sure there's plenty of people that are thinking the exact same question that you are. So write it down in the comments below. Otherwise, I'm gonna say thanks for watching.